Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Good night of Shabbos. You have the Parshas Matos starts off with the union of Nidorim. Nidorim it teaches you several things. One is the Keach HaDibur. In other words, what is it that Dibur can accomplish? By saying something, you're making yourself a schayvesen. You may get think that makes tremendous obligations that words can do. And these are the things that we're talking about. We're talking about shvuas, we're talking about nidorim, we're talking about, not even talking about brachos and clothes, which also come from the concept of words. But the Maasei, and they simply makes this chayvus on a person. So words is a very important thing. That's the tireless trying to teach us something not to waste. And therefore, yachal dvorei is a thing that when you said it, it's called yetsim piv yaseh. That's an important thing to know. You said it, you committed to it. Tough luck. You said it. Okay. Now, it says right there in the things, an interesting Rashi. Rashi says, Hashem yislach lo. So it says, B'moakos medaber. What is the Torah talking about? The Torah is talking about an isha shenodor benozir, v'shoma bailo v'heifelo, and her husband was meifar the neder, v'hilo yoda, she didn't know it, and the averes al nidor, she was aver on her neder, what she says yayin and metam lamesim, zui shetzricha slicha, she needs slicha, even though she didn't do anything, right? Obviously she didn't do anything. Even though it was meifer. What does that mean? An animal feres is the chayt itself. So what do I need a kal b'chayma for? No kal b'chayma here. So what's he mean? So I think what it means is it's trying to teach us a completely different Indian altogether. I tell you that the neder, it teaches you that if you have kavanah to do a chet, and you do a maasei, a semblance of a maasei, you go in here, you made a neder, and your husband was made for you. So as far as the neder in reality is not here, but you don't know that. So as far as you're concerned, when you were aver the neder, you were being aver the neder b'rotzen, and you know you were doing an avera, okay? So therefore you did a maasei of chet and a kavanah of chet. So mad if you have a kavanah of chet and a maasei of chet, and you need slicha, it's not enough to say, well, but he didn't do a chet. That's not enough because I did a maasei and I did a thing there. So surely where I did a maasei and it will be kavanah, it's surely that way, right? Of course, that's Weiss itself. No, so I want to tie it. It goes on cases where basically the person didn't do anything at all. In other words, let's say, I'll give you more shul, a guy saw a gun with blanks, and he wanted to kill somebody. So he shoots at the person with the blanks, right? He didn't, as far as he didn't kill him, right? But he wanted to kill him, and he did a maasei to kill him. What's the maasei? Pull the trigger. There's nothing more for him to do than pull the trigger. There's nothing else he can do. So since there's nothing else he can do but pull the trigger, so therefore, plenty. They pulled the trigger, so he did the Maasei. And for that, you're chayiv. So even though with this, what do you call it, down here, you can't say he's a Rotzeach, because you can always claim he knew it was blanks. So therefore, there's in the nose, not a Maasei Tzitcha, but if the Beishel knows that Maasei Tzitcha, he needs tshuva as a murderer. He doesn't need tshuva as a guy who was playing a game. He needs tshuva as a murderer because he did an act of murder. His rotzon was to murder, he did the Maasei of murder. It happens he didn't murder anybody. Would have been if, let's say, the bullet would have hit a book he had in his pocket. Doesn't make a difference. He didn't kill him. But the Maasei, he wanted to kill him, and he did a Maasei to kill him. That's all that it takes. And for that, that's the kal v'chever here. And that's what the purpose of the kal v'chever. But not for itself. Itself, that's the chet. So what's the kal v'chever? And if you do a Maasei, and you have kavod for the Maasei, that's the kal v'chever. Okay. After this, it goes into the union of they were going to take the Nekama against Midian, right? And he took 1,000 to shave it, okay. And they attacked Midian, and they kill everybody in Midian, and Rashi says about, in the Rashi of Chameshes Malchei Midian, he talks about what was Bilam doing there. That Bilam holach shom litol schar aserav rabor asesav rabor elef sheipel b'Yisrael b'atzosei. That is not true. They didn't die because of his eitzah, and they had nothing to do with it. And I don't know exactly why Rashi brings it down. Rashi could have brought down 176,000 that were actually killed by Atzas Bilam, because that's what Rashi himself brings over there, that they have everyone in Bezdin killed two people, and he counted out how many people, how many judges you had, and each one killed two. It came out to 176,000. So 176,000 people were killed in Klal Yisrael because of Znus, Avodah Zorah, which was the eights of Bilam. 24,000 had nothing to do with Avodah Zorah, had nothing to do with Znus. Only one guy was Mizan over there, and he didn't do Avodah Zorah. And the reason he was Mizanu was because it was a personal revolution against Moshe Rabbeinu, and had nothing at all to do with them. But it was the Magefa that was still there from the, what he called, the Beishim sent down. That's what you see from over there. The Beishim doesn't send a different Magefa. Magefa came originally because of the Znus. They didn't kill anybody at that Magefa. It was just standing there. Maybe people got sick, and they killed sick people by us. Once you kill the guy, you kill him in whatever matzah he's in. We don't wait till he gets cured and then kill him. They kill him sick. And that's it often there, and therefore that's what they killed him. And all 176,000, but nobody died. But the Magefa did not go away until after it was finished, because he started the Maasei Znus before the Magefa went away, while they were still getting killed by Bezdin. And that's when he started his shtickle revolution. And we went through it over there, what his revolution was about. He had Nishteni Lebetin, he was Shlishi Lebetin. That's basically what the Machlekes was about. Okay. Anyway, so they came, they killed everyone, and then they took all the thing, and they came to the Machne. Okay. Moshe Rabbeinu sees the women, he gets very upset, he wants to kill them, and he starts yelling at the Soyameus, or the Aleph, why they left it over. So in other words, he assumed that even though they didn't give them instructions to kill them, so obviously he assumed they should have figured it out themselves, that these guys are the Ikel. In other words, what are you killing the man for? They're just warriors. But the Chaitim, the ones that caught the Aveira, were the women. So why did you let them live? And that you should have made that Kal V'chemi yourself. You should, or whatever you want to call it. You should have made that Rosh yourself. And that's why he got angry. And the Kashi is, it doesn't say they actually, the people who lived with Jews were killed. When they killed the girls, so they said, I want you to kill all the taf that are zocha, plus any women, Yudeyas Ish. Doesn't mean Yudeyas Ish, that means that they actually lived with somebody. It means someone that's able to live with somebody. And how did they know that? They knew that by the Urim B'Tumim. They past the Urim B'Tumim, and it lit up. And when it was, one that was Royu, and they killed her. So the kasha becomes a very strange one. These women seem to be former women. They didn't go out to do znus. So they didn't do znus, so why are you killing them? Just because they were ready to do znus, if I can't, they're from. They didn't want to listen to their fathers to do Aveirus with Klal Yisrael. So why are you killing them? So Parshas it's not, they didn't do it, not listen because they love, because they hold it's not moral, it's not this. They didn't do it because they didn't want to listen to their parents. It's not, you're not telling me what to do, and that for that reason you can kill them. It has nothing to do with that. So therefore, for the Slichet, they would have gone. That didn't bother them. The morality of it didn't bother them. What bothered them was they didn't like their fathers for whatever reason. They didn't want to help their fathers out, so therefore they were big rotten sleepy kids. And that's what they did. They killed all of them, except for the ones that were too young to what he called, and was under 3. It's interesting, you see here an interesting zach, that even though it's the same Maasei, and as far as the person, the boil, it's the same, whatever crazy hanoia a guy has in that age, that a guy's able to do it, or whatever it is there, but it's not considered a Maasei. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And whether it's with arayis, whether it's here, doesn't make a difference. Whether actually lived with people, didn't live with people, it's not called living, so therefore it doesn't count. And like it's obviously it has nothing to do with the way it looks. It has nothing to do with the I don't know how to call it, the cohabitation. But the tzura, like sometimes it's this disgusting tzura in the thing over there. And after PK, that is not what counts. Okay, they came and they come back and they bring everything else to the machna. Okay. What do you call it? Now they come to the machna and Elazar teaches them a new halacha. And I don't, there's a Rashi, I can't find it at the moment. But Rashi says that the reason that Elazar never actually, in the end of Pinchas, he says about Elazar, he says that what will come Yeshua, I want you to appoint Yeshua as the Melech, as the next Melech. V'hamad toisa ifnei Elazar hakayim, ifnei kol ha'eda, v'nasata v'hoitcholo v'yish b'kol ha'spenis. V'ifnei Elazar hakayim yamoid, v'shaloi b'mishpat ha'urim v'tum, v'ifnei Hashem, al piv yatzayu, yetzu al piv yavoyu. That's what it says in Parshas Pinchas, right? So it seems that he needed what he called. Because he did what he did here, he lost it. And we don't find anywhere in Tanakh that Yeshua needed Pinchas to do the Yom Tumah. He never went to the Yom Tumah. It could be because Yeshua was a Navi himself, or maybe not every Navi has this chaos, but maybe the Beisham and talk to only Yeshua about the concourse, exactly what he had to do. But Maasei, he never needed a Elazar for this inyan. And the reason for it is because it was Moira Halacha Lefnei Rabbi. Now what was the Moira Halacha Lefnei Rabbi? This is what it was. They all came with their stuff. Moshe Rabbeinu is angry. He just yelled at the Sorei Ameya, Because he yelled at the Sorei Avmeyo, Rashi says he forgot the halacha. In other words, when you get angry, and he brings 3 cases of Moshe's getting angry, I don't know what the purpose of his bringing those things are, but he brings those cases that Moshe got angry, and because that he always forgot halacha. Because when here it is, he also got angry. So it says, "Vayemer Elazar HaKohen l'Anshe Hatzova Boino Melchoma." Zois chukes haTorah asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. He doesn't take credit for it himself. He says, I got this halacha from Moshe Rabbeinu, I got this halacha, and I'm telling it to you. What did he do wrong? He did not ask Moshe if he should talk. He should have said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe, do you want me to answer them? And he didn't do that. And for that, he lost this thing. I don't know, I'll tell you a Maasei Shehaya. I don't know if this is the reason for it. There are Maises about Moira Lochas Lifnei Rabbam, which I saw, which I still see. I mean, it's still going on. Hasn't stopped. From Talmidim of Abarim, from when I was there. But this is in tells. In tells, remember, the meaning of is that the Rosh Hashiva will count the Omer, right? Came, Rabbi Meir at that time was in the hospital. I was in Yeshiva in that time, and Mortal was supposed to do this saying, and it's quiet. Nothing's happening. So all of a sudden, it's quiet, and then a voice comes from a bacher that he counts the Omer. And of course, everyone counts afterwards, and then the shaila was, what happened? Oh, the Mortal probably forgot. And then no one thought about what it is. I don't know how many years later, but not too many years later, obviously. He became Taki, became a Manayel in a big base Yankiv, he was killed changing a tire on the Jersey Turnpike. Okay. You say it's because of that? I can't answer that. But he's a very choshev guy, so I can only tell you that. So I'm saying I don't know of anything. You tell me Chayv Misa for some other reason. I can't answer that. I don't know. But that's what happened to the guy. Okay, so I'm saying it's a dangerous thing. That wasn't even Meira Locha. There was a point of what he should have done is should I take over? You want me to bench the Omer? You want me to do that? That's what you should have done. You don't just do it yourself. No such thing you do yourself. And whatever it is, it's like you can't answer more than that. Okay. Then tells them to split up the type, the Malkoyach, Yasa Buzz, which is the animals and the people. And he does it and splits it in half, and you're told to give half to the army, to 12,000 guys, really probably 13,000. Well, maybe, I don't know how to count that. Maybe Yosef only gave 1,000. He says there, "We must mouth yourself on Matos 12,000." Rashi says, "The rabbis, what is the elf or Matel of Rabbatel, the Rabbi Shevet Levi." So if you're Rabbi Shevet Levi, it should be 13,000. So how do you get 12,000? Right? So obviously Shevet Yosef went down to 1 Shevet, not to 2 Shvatim. So I say I don't know, but Azay was Mizog. Okay, anyway. So they had, so it was 500 probably. Okay. But anyway, you split half between the soldiers and half between the people that are taking care of the supplies, which means the rest of Klal Yisrael in this case. Okay, and they're going to split this booty between the two of them. The half that the army half got a decent amount of animals, a decent amount of people. The, what do you call it, half, got nothing. Basically, one maybe, one something, or whatever it is. Was no big zachar that came out of it. Okay, but no big deal. Maybe a small nation, whatever it is. So he says he split it, and he tells them like this: from the fifth that went to the army, you give 1 in 500 to Elazar, and the other you give 1 out of 50 to the Levium. Okay, it's pretty straight English, easy math. We go 550, they're both easy math. There's no grace of terrors here. So he counts out the stuff that he was going to the army, and then he tells you exactly how much he gave to Elazar HaKohen. And when he came to the Levi, when he came to the second half, he just said, and then just take 50, 1 out of 50, and give it to the Levium. Why don't you say give 1 out of 500 and give it to Elazar? What do you have to count the number for? It's a bunch of extra words and extra psukim. What's a necessity for? So from here originally, I came to the conclusion that obviously the part that you give to the Kohen is different than the part that you give to the Levi. Now, why is that so? So we proved it from Parshas Korach. And of course, in Korach it says over there also, in the end, when he divides the there's the lotion over here. He wants to explain what happens, what goes to the Kohen and what goes to the Levi in the end. So he says, to the Kohen goes, as mishmeres to Maasei, my tume, right? The whole coach b'nei Yisrael chol desatim, zmoshel v'nach l'chol yeh. Chol mikredish hakadoshim and eish kol kabonam l'chol b'chos l'chatos l'chasham asher yeshivu li, everything you give me, which means Rabbeinu Shalom, l'chon desatim, I'm giving it to you. So everything the Kohen gets is God's. So the Kohen always eats Meshulchan Gavoya. What about the Levi? And nobody else is allowed to eat it. No Yisrael, no Levi, no one else is allowed to eat it. It's all not allowed to eat it. On the other hand, the Levi, Anhine Nosate, Komas B'Yisrael L'Nacha, Chelav Avodos, they give them a salary. They get a salary 1 out of 50. That's chulun. Everybody can eat it. It's something that has nothing to do with anybody else. Same thing here. 50, 1 out of 50 is not holy. The other thing, you're giving him, what they say, Mechas Lashem, you're giving to Elazar. You're not giving him to Elazar, you're giving it to God. It just happens to be God in this world is Elazar. I happen to brought it out, the difference is the Rambam, when he spoke Lo Shevet Levi Bovad, he's talking about the Kohen, of an Aaron HaKoyanim, or Leviim HaKoyanim. Leviim, because the Koyanim are Leviim. And in the 48 cities, they also get a chelik, because they are Leviim. They also have to live there. The Koyanim are not Kohanim, the Leviim. But the difference that we're talking about, which Leviim are we talking, which people are we talking from Shevet Levi Bavad is the Koyanim. The difference is a Koyan, that one eats wherever he is. A Levi has to get a salary. He said, what would be in our time, what do you call it, the definition between a Kohen and a Levi would be that a Kohen is a guy who says, God, whatever you need me, I'm there. And a Kohen, a Levi says, I'd like to work for you, Rabbeinu Shalom, but, I got a family, it costs money, I have to be there. It's a little inconvenient for me to move out of town. It's too hard for me to teach little kids. When you're giving me the right position, the right salary, the right I'm work for you. Okay, and that there's people like that too, and we're very happy that they joined us. But Maasei, there's a price tag, and they're not coming without that price tag. And that's a Levi. And therefore, we're only talking about Kehanim, because we're talking about God will supply for the Kohen no matter where he is. Now, the shaila is, what do you call the salary? What do you call the thing? You're going to find an unhappy person. You're not going to find an unhappy guy. Okay, that's the point. The Franco Rambam just changes Pitzavavin. Okay, so that's the whole thing is that you don't change a gilsa at first. That was okay.
Rabbi's learning that Elazar HaKohen is not specifically Elazar, means all the Kehanim, even Isamar and Pinchas?
That what?
When it says Elazar HaKohen, it doesn't mean specifically Elazar, it means even Isamar and the
Over
Pinchas?
here you mean? But probably only gave it to Elazar.
Only Elazar.
Why? He's Kohen Gadol, so that's probably why he gave it to him. But whether he gave it to the other ones, there was already, at this time there was already not 24, it was at least 4 of the 24, what do you call it? Shmores already. So there's a lot of Kehanim around already. So why did they only take to Loza? Kashi.
But it's still at a din of
That's good, all right. Then it says Mikne Rav Hoyel of Reuven Livnei God. So, interesting. This is just a svar of mine, but I believe that it's emes. It says Mikne Rav Hoyel of Reuven Livnei God because Reuven is the older Shevet, so therefore he puts Reuven first, right? And then it says Vayiru Leisur Vayivoyu Bnei God uBnei Reuven. Bnei God and Bnei Reuven came. Should be Bnei Reuven, Bnei God came, not Bnei God, Bnei Reuven. No, Bnei Reuven never would have come. Bnei God's coming, Reuven slept along. Why? Because they were told they were Pachas Kamayim, they jump into too fast, so they do tshuva. Now you have to do tshuva, you go to say Achrein, you don't open up your mouth. Now, when did they finally reach the point, I think, to go the other way? I don't know what happened if they did go the other way. That's the face of it. But according to the Rambam, you're supposed to go till you hit the other end, and then you go back slowly till the middle, and whatever it is, you snip up over there. A little bit on this side, a little bit on this side to be a chosed. But that's basically how you fix your midas. By the Shiras Devaira, Reuven is called Chikeke Leiv. They can't even make up their mind. So that's a degree. So the Shevet Reuven really did tshuva to the point that they came to the point of Chikeke Leiv. Now they had to go back the other way. I don't know what happened. Doesn't say. Anyway, they come and they take a look at, and they see Torres, Divan, Yazer, Nimrah, all these nice cities, and they have and it's good for sheep, and they sell it to Vlavadecha Mikne, and your avodim have sheep. Okay, there's a samach over here. And then they continue talking. They didn't make a new conversation here. This is a continuation of the conversation. Please give us this land, right? And again, as soon as he said they say that, Moshe Rabbeinu hits the ceiling and he says, "There, you guys are like your ancestors, like the Mechaklim. You're going to stop. Nobody's going to want to go to Eretz Yisrael because of you guys." And they all listen to Moshe yell, and he has a samach again in the middle over there. Then they come over after the ball out that he gave them, and they said, no, we don't mean that. We want to build up the things. We're going to go fight for them and the thing. So let me ask you, didn't Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't figure out that maybe that's what they mean? Couldn't ask you mean you're going to leave, the other guys are going to go fight, not you? And as a kasha, forget about it as an accusation. A kasha. Well, how come you're doing this? They're supposed to answer. Well, we mean that they're going first. Right? We didn't mean chas v'chulil that we're going to be free. Right? So why did Moshe assume that they meant it free? And what did he start yelling at them for? He should have asked them first. It's not a normal thing. Okay, so I want to tell you that's good for what it says. It says in Yerushalmi in Bikurim, the last paragraph. It says over there in the Mishnah, you don't bring Bikurim from Eva Yadu.
Is Rashiva asking that maybe Moshe Rabbeinu should have been done with Hafschus?
I don't know if they should have been done with Schus. Should have just asked them what's going on. I mean, for Schus Avade, I mean, for Moshe Rabbeinu surely should have been done. But even though you say, okay, he was not done them with Schus, like, in the wrong time, you hit me at the wrong time. But Lamaise, but ask a question, you accuse the guy right away. The guy, I said, what are you accusing me for? And why the Samach, since that's what I'm saying, and the Samach's also bothering me, same conversation. It should be without a Samach, it's one straight conversation. So the Gemara over there asks the Kasha, it says, what are we talking about? The reason that you don't bring Bikurim, because it says, Asher, what God gave you. I'll tell you the exact Loshin is in Kisova. Let's see what the Loshin is over there. God gave you, right? And by Reuven and God, they took it themselves. So therefore they took it themselves. And anything different. That's the thing there. And then there's another one, if it means it because not those others hold with the wash. Son of Kimil Gabi Chotzi Shevet Menashe. That's basically the Helikis. What do you mean he took it themselves? So whenever you ask for anything past the point where the guy cannot say no anymore and still be, what do you call it? You have called taking it yourself. Therefore, Sudah Shenim Stapekes Labailim is Gezel. Mamish Gezel, you're even the Isa Gezel. There's no question about it. So it's not shot that, it's Ke'engzele, it's something like it. No, it's Gezel. And the thing is, why? Because I really don't want to give it to you. But you put me in a position that I can't help you. So therefore I want to give it, so I'm going to give it to you. Same thing it says in Eschanum. When you ask one more time, I'm going to give it to you, but don't ask one more time. Why? But why am I going to give it to you? The Gemara says, because after that I look like an Achzo. But I don't want to give him. I don't understand why 5:15 is different than 5:16. But Lamaise, that's the fact. The Bishop told him, don't ask again. Okay? Because then I look like an Achzo. So therefore, now when you say please, you just made a point when I claim, I don't know if this is true or not, where if a person will call and you want him to give a donation because this person called, not because it's felt that he didn't give enough tzedakah. If the guy didn't give enough tzedakah yet, then if I help this kafir, now let's tzedakah. There's no way you can allow to call about. But what happened? The guy gives enough tzedakah, but he didn't give you any tzedakah, and you want tzedakah. So we'll get our head man, you call, like to the office calls, don't answer. You call, well, he maybe he'll answer. And the answer is going to give you because you called, right? So I don't know if that may be your gospel. If you gave enough, you're a gospel. Because you're putting pressure on. You're not giving you because you want to give me. You give me because you're putting pressure on me to give you. And that's awesome. That's what the Torah is trying to teach over here. You should have just said, I understand what you're talking about. You told me, but this is good land for Mikneh, and you have Mikneh. Wonderful. I understand. I'm not stupid. I also went to school. I can also, I understand that you want this land, right? But when you put the pressure, then please give it to us. What's his law? Now you're putting them pressure. Now you're begging for it. Now you're putting on pressure on me. If I say no, I'm a bad guy. For that, you immediately attacks him. That means you guys don't want to go. You don't want to think. Whatever it is. So why are you putting on so much pressure on me? And that was the argument over here. That's what I think it was. Okay. And they guaranteed even more than Moshe Rabbeinu required. They were willing to go until after the 14 years, after they got their land. Moshe Rabbeinu only really required them until after the war. But the Maasei is there, they went to 14 years instead of 7 years. Okay. That's a big thing that they did. And there's no question about it. No. It's interesting, you know, I was always wondering who would he, I always put down to Menashe, in the end of Chukas, he brings down that they, after the Malchama of Cheshbon, of the two of them, not before Oig, after they killed Sichain, Vayishlach Moshe l'ragel es Yazav vayukedu v'noisehu, that he sent messengers to find out about, or spies about the Yazel. And they said, and so Rashi says, who killed Vayukedu? The messengers themselves. So I thought, who the guy that did it? You find, like, in the end of this Seder, who goes and gets more land? Menashe gets more land. You don't find the other Shvatim did. And yet, when it comes to Yazel, who took Yazel? It says over here, when they God took Yazel. When they God is Dimas, Atos, Yazel. So Yazel went to God. So how did they get it? So it must have been God, the Shluchim, that took it. Because over here also, he gives it to whoever took it. What it says, Vayelchu b'nei Mocher b'Menashe v'Golodo v'Yukeduo v'Yoshes ha'Meri asher bo, so Vayite Moshe zagil l'Mocher. Like you won it, you found it, you destroyed it, there, it's yours, keep it. And then the same thing to the other things over there. So that's the way it seems to be. Okay. The Torah then talks about the Maasei, and it's interesting that not in everything that he tell you the Maasei will he tell you what happened there. It says they came to feed him. There was no water there. Always feed him. So what happened? They had no water. I don't have to tell you what happened. They moved on, right? So they were all alive after that. So it means they got water. So I don't have to tell you how they got the water, what the water. That's a story if you want to learn B'Shalach. Don't have to tell it to you here. That's the thing. Okay. But you see, one thing that's interesting, I don't know how they count it, but they Kivus HaTaiva, they do count. But what's the one? The fire, the one before it is Tavera, they don't count as a stop. Now why not? I don't know what count that. They're all in Midbar Poland. If you take a look back and over there, they're all in Midbar Poland. Until even the Meraglim, they think that the whole thing is in Midbar Poland. But it's called them Chatzeros, they're all called them different spots for different reasons, but they're all in Midbar Poland. So exactly what's called Midbar Poland and what makes it stop and so I guess here it means the stop where to put the Mishkan down, and I guess they didn't put the Mishkan down in Tavera. It was just when they probably started to move, thank you. When they started to move, the Tavera, that there was a problem in this thing. Okay. Okay. It's just an interesting, the Loshen, I think, that the Pasuk uses. V'irashtim es kol yeshvi ortim nechem, v'ibadtim es kol maskiyosem. It's, the tzivu was to destroy them. The tzivu wasn't to go get the land. The tzivu was to destroy the nation that was in the land. And therefore, if you don't do that, in other words, whatever we wanted to do to them, they're going to end up doing to you, which is unfortunately nice and that happened. And you'll say that the Ben Shalom left him there to be a pain in the neck to the kid. Say he is Klal Yisrael, and so it was. Oh, but the kasha was, the Klal Yisrael destroyed all the nations of Canaan, and Yavin Melech Canaan can attack Klal Yisrael that you need on the Nisim of Dvoira and what he called against him. And the thing that one little guy is able to capture all of Klal Yisrael, or at least attack them to the point that they feel oppressed and what do you call it, bothered by this point. He's a little peanut. Knock him off. What's they stuck up? Much, but they couldn't. So the Meishim gave special keiches to these guys, whether it's Sisra in the sense of the ability of, as a general, how he was able to do it. Now, obviously, Sisra was a big zach. That Yoel deserves all the shvach that Dvoira gives her, and which is talking about being mizana with this gangster, this murderer, with whatever you want to call Sisra, that's what he was, and what he called over there, and until she killed him, but hey, big deal, he's a one guy. What do you leave him alone? They were defeated. Everybody was killed. He did a very good dog, Barak. He'll get here, he'll kill Sisra too. So why you need all this stuff for? Right? Of Elavos, killing Sisra was very important. So it seems that he was a major factor somehow, that he himself was able to either raise an army or I don't know what he was, a military ability. There are such things. Most generals, I don't know. Okay, I don't know how many of you play poker, so that's why I don't want to report to but certain people, what they call have guts, play dreidel. I don't care. I put in $1. You're playing for pennies. The guy puts in $1. Everybody backs off. Why are you backing off? Well, in dreidel, it's hard to do that because dreidel, you didn't do it yet. But let's say in cards, I don't know what card you're holding. So if you throw down $1, that means I'm afraid you have a good card, right? So therefore, I'm willing to back off. You back off, I win. I don't have to show you my card. In reality, he had a bad card, right? But he has chokhmah in psychology, and how he plays the game with the other people, that he can take the gamble by betting big. That's how they scare you off, right? So that's one way you can win cards. You can win as a general. In other words, we don't know what's coming, and we have the propaganda, the proper thing. Then there's generals that can win simply by the luck of the cards. I mean, I happen to have made a stupid move. I invaded on D-Day, and I happened to be successful. I came in on Incheon, if you guys, any people here remember all these places, Incheon, and I defeated, that's MacArthur in what he called North Korea, Incheon, and I defeated the Koreans, and the Chinese didn't hear, the Chinese already came in, and he defeated the Chinese. He made a move which was, in one way, if it would have been unsuccessful, meaning because you had too small an army, too small a thing, but if you had a bigger army, they would have detected you, and they would have had a bigger place waiting for you, they would have killed you. The reason that it worked is because it was a gamble. You didn't know if it would work or not, that's why it worked, because they weren't ready for you, and they didn't expect you, and then you come in. So that's a game, that's not a raya that you're a smart person, but that child, the Ben Shalom's with you, that's a good child. So again, what I want to prove with the general say something. What am I saying? Sisra, was why Taki is, you'll say there's really a godless to a general. You know what I mean? And the thing there, in the way you got to say that must have been Alexander, supposedly, I don't know, again, historians are the ones that quote these numbers, that with 30,000 soldiers, he captured the whatever the world was. And we have that he killed out hundreds of thousands of Persian soldiers. So obviously with 30,000 soldiers, either tremendous nisim happened to him, or whatever it is there, that he was able to do this. And what was his godless, how he did it, and so on. And basically, the same thing. You go to West Point, you'll see all the walls over there. You got Maccabees up there too, and you'll see all these guys. They're great generals, and what made them great generals? I don't know, but anyway. And they don't tell you, so I can't answer. But they can even tell you what battles they won, maybe. But you can't tell them if they're great generals. Okay. He gives us the borders of El Yisrael. Except I don't understand what he did with the Miksei Amamelech Kedma. I don't know exactly what he means by that, but when they drew the line from the end of the south part to the east, down this way. So I don't know exactly how they are, but anyway. That was he took. Okay. He gave again Nosi Echad HaShevet. Interestingly, there's a very funny kasha that the Rishonim don't seem to ask. Now, there may be somebody that does ask it, and it would be interesting if you ever found it, please let me know. Okay, we just want to see what they answer. I don't disagree with my answer anyway. Anyway, it says over here, by three Nesiim, it doesn't have the word Nasi. And those are Yehuda, Lamate Yehuda, Kalev ben Yefune, Lamate b'nei Shimon, Shmuel ben Amihud, Lamate ben Yamin, Alida ben Kislein. And then Lamate b'nei Don, Nasi Bukivan. They asked the kasha why it doesn't say Nasi for those three Shvatim. The answer is the two of them were Anovim, and Shimon didn't deserve the name Nasi. Okay, good. So you took away the three Nasis. I have a kasha why Chutz Yehuda and Binyamin, the word B'nei is on every Shevet and not on them. And that they don't ask. Well, I never found it. Let's put it that way. Okay. So I claim the Taina is, and now I'm getting into Baisheni stuff, that they taki knew, I don't know whatever Navu is, they were Nevi'im, they were whatever, who knows what they were, right? They knew when they were Mekabel the land, they were Mekabel their Shevet for Klal Yisrael, not just for their Shevet. They only were representatives of their Shevet, while the other 10 were actually being Mekabel for their Shevet. In other words, the land of, let's say, Shimon, Yosef, whatever these are lands that they didn't get in Bayesheni. These were in Bayeshrishan. So in Bayeshrishan they got land. But the piece that was used, Yehuda and Binyamin, that little piece in the middle, which is what we call Baruch's Judah, in the second Bayesheni, that was only a little piece of land. They maybe the Maccabees maybe got a little bit more, but basically it was only that little piece of land. And that's why it loses the Loshen. They were Mekabel for Klal Yisrael. That land will be forever for Klal Yisrael. And therefore not in Bayeshrishan. Bayeshrishan it was a personal thing. By Sheni it will be for everybody.
So Ezra was only Kaivish. When they were Kaivish, Bimei Ezra was only Yehuda ben Yamin?
That's all they were. That was why they gave them. That's all they gave them. That's what they show you pictures. I mean, I can only tell you the pictures. I really don't know. Yeah. Interesting from the names. I only saw the two of them over here. There's a Paltiel, and there's what he called. Can't think of his name. Interesting. Okay. Why we don't call the other names, I have no idea. Why certain names are Neisachem by Klal Yisrael. It's not even the word Neisachem. I can't even say what it is. There are names that are more by the Sfardim than by the Ashkenazim. I think, in Vayos, the Shiftei Ko, pretty good guys, I think, right? And we all call everybody pretty much by the names of pretty much all the Shvatim, except one. God. There are no Ashkenazim that are called God, but you'll find Sfardim that are called God. You have Shiftei, the Shaftim, and they can be bigger than that. How many Ehuds do you know? But Sfardim have Ehuds. They have Giddens. They have, what do you call it? You don't have any of these guys. Why? I don't know. So I can't tell you. Anyway. Okay, they get the 48 cities, okay. Then you have the den of the Ori Miklot. The Ori Miklot, we find at least 3 times in the Torah. And the kash is, at least to me, the kash is, why? I mean, if you tell me, if you kill b'sheigeg, we know the union of sheigeg, so you have to be mefashim. I didn't say it in this parsha, I'll say it in that parsha. So say it all in one parsha and you'll get it all over with. What do you have to say 3 times for? So I don't know. But could be, one is because we said that basically it means carelessness. It doesn't mean that they were bigger murderers. They were not murderers. They were careless people. That's why they were in Neva HaYarden equal, the 2.5 Shvatim are equal to the other 9.5 Shvatim. And there's much that need Orei Miklot. They needed 3 and they needed 3. And the question is why? Rashi said because they were not, what do you call it, there's more Ritzicha over there. What do you mean more Ritzicha? They were careless. Careless is a Ritzeach. You're a murderer. You're not, there's no accidents. You're a murderer. You were careless, you're a murderer. You have no right to be careless. Okay. And therefore it stresses that point. Or it's telling you, and it keeps chasering over here also, don't kill a guy with 1 aid. Don't kill a guy with 1 aid. You can't. You got to save him from the girl Adam. You got to have the din. Why do I care about the murderer? Mashma, that unless the guy is chayiv misa, you don't kill him. And we're warning you. Not to say the guy is good. He's a murderer. And he deserves misa in the sense of, but I give him the Yonish, not you. He goes out, they're saying there. And I think the reason they're giving so much power to the girl Hadam, that it says that there is no girl Hadam, Bezna points a girl Hadam. Does that mean Bezna points a girl Hadam? No, I think it means that it's not a game. It's not when you tell the guy, you're supposed to live in, let's say, Hebron, which is one of the, he went to Orei Miklot in Hebron, and he said, you got to stay in Hebron, right? My daughter has a chasana tomorrow in Tel Aviv. I want to go to the chasana. You can't go. You go, you're going to get killed. Who's going to kill me? Who's going to do anything? It's already 6 months I'm here already. There's a guy out there with a rifle aimed at you. You walk out of this town, he's going to kill you. Who's that guy? Pointed by Best. And he's going to make sure you're dead. Okay, so therefore you stay there. And if you're not afraid, you're not going to stay there. So it's not going to be an einish. It's vacation. What better deal would have you be in Orei Miklot? They do everything for me. They make sure I live. They make sure I have a parnasa, make sure I have what he called, my Rebbe's here. Everything I have a private chavrusa with my Rebbe. I never was able to get to learn with my Rebbe. Right? He's always giving me excuses to learn with somebody else. And obviously, finally I got him. I killed somebody, now he's stuck past to learn with me the whole day. He's stuck. I mean, the joke. The teachers, you're not like that. It's a punishment. Okay, those are the now came a new thing. The Shevet Menashe felt cheated. Why? Because they gave the Manos Sofchad land, double land. Now the truth is, this didn't only affect Shevet Menashe. It affected every Shevet in Klal Yisrael. Anyone that had a single girl that was or single daughters that were not single, they could have been married also. The daughters that are inheriting, because there was no sons in a family, must have been many. Why you only Tzofcha was the only one who didn't have sons? I mean, there was an every Shevet that he gave to every Shevet. So what difference does it make in reality? Right now, I mean, if he would have been Eretz Yisrael, it would have been right now, right? This may, since this is going to happen every day, you're going to have, out of the 10,000 people, you're going to have 3 or 5 or 10 families that are going to have only girls, right? So they're going to marry out of the Shevet, right? So automatically your land that you thought you had Shevet Menashe, when you have a big thing over here, you're going to have a Chelik here, Yehuda, Beniman, in Efraim, whatever it is, you'll have the different parts, the different people. Why you say is that it's going to be by everybody that way. And it would have been in come to Yehuda's land, it would also be the same thing. Menashe is all over the so, okay. So I want to tie in a new thing. Avade, this is so. And therefore the only fight they had was about the first time. It wasn't a question that, only that this is forever. It only was for the first time, and it's for the first time. Why? If they would have come in and they would have gotten married, let's say, prior to coming into Eretz Yisrael, so they would be getting their father's chelik, but their husband is from a different Shevet. Really, right now belongs to her. Right now it's still her thing. If she chas v'chila dies, whatever it is, it goes to her husband. If it doesn't go to her husband, it goes to her children. And they're going to be from a different Shevet. So now it comes out that the land of Menashe has a chelik that doesn't belong to Menashe. So it comes as far as the minhagim go. It goes according to the minhag of that Shevet. And I believe this is so. The Shvatim were not divided in boxes, to the point. There were sections that were, one guy was a little bit surrounded by another Shevet, right? And he still belonged to this Shevet, right? So why is it that? Because he's connected to them, and you see that it's connected. Maasei, the land looks like this. What am I going to tell you? So he got stuck being surrounded by different Shevet on 3 sides. But on one side, he's connected to the Shevet. He still does what his Shevet does, the minhagim. But if he would have been, attached to the other Shevet, then he'd do the other Shevets. So the idea is that once the first door takes over and says, this is Menashe territory, right? Even though later on the land will be owned by Yehuda, they still have to daven Menashe. Each one, it seems each Shevet had a different setup. They all daven different ways. Because you daven our minhagim, you daven our tireless. Now, you live up in certain areas, you live in our area, you do what we do. You can't come along and say, oh, I want to do what I want to do. Then you belong to our Shevet. That's what they were fighting about. They weren't fighting about who owns the land. Who owns the land of others? Someone in time is going to go to another Yid, who might not get minute, and I'm going to be. But Maasei, they want them in Hagim, they're going to be still out in Hagim. It's not going to be, comes over and the shul changes. Shul's not going to change. Shul's going to be the same way. All the years. That was the big thing that they wanted to do.
Anshe Knesses Gedola was started from all the different shvatim. Like that's what their makar was.
I guess so.
Yeah, big job.
And when he came, the Rosh Yeshiva asked the question here. This is very important. He asked the question. It says that we learned from here. Rashi and the thing came out and. Whatever you want, you should marry, right? I'm giving you an eitzah, marry only your nephew, your cousins, right? Or Maasei, you have a head to marry anybody else. But anybody else for any other shevet, they have to marry their cousins. That's the thing there. So yes, the kasha, why did the Rebbeinu take away from the Bnei Slofchot an Eina Mitzvah V'Oisa? I'm a Mitzvah V'Oisa. We all know that the Mitzvah V'Oisa is bigger than Eina Mitzvah V'Oisa. So they became Eina Mitzvah V'Oisas, and all the other women in Klal Yisrael became Mitzvah V'Oisas. It's so unfair. Why do you take away the Eina Mitzvah? They're the ones that brought it up. They're the way any woman gets anything is because of them. And you're stealing it from them that they were entitled to be, what do you call it, mitzvah voices. So he said, no, not that way. He said to him, he gave him an eitzah. He said, you can marry anybody you want. I'm telling you, you should marry your cousins. You can only tell me that's only an eitzah. You're not telling me I have to, right? So I want to marry the stranger over there, right? So tell them, they followed the eitzah. That's an easier thing to not listen to than when the whole reason Taisa says that the mitzvah v'oisa gets more than any mitzvah v'oisa, because the mitzvah v'oisa has a yetzer hara. Who has more than a bigger yetzer hara than when it's just an eitzah? Who has to listen to an eitzah, right? So therefore they got more schar because they listened. And therefore, it tells you this thing is that whenever Chazal gave an eitzah, the Matayv is mechuyev to listen to the eitzahs of Chazal. It's not just an eitzah. When they gave an eitzah, they made it, that's what you got to do. They just didn't make it as a chiyuv, the thing Dorten did. The Shiva said this in the time of a recession, in the early 70s. And something that we have to keep in mind right now. People who borrowed a lot of money and bought Bitcoin learned their lesson, right? So there's other things that the people learned their lesson about or not. But the thing is, the Chazal told you, shlish b'kalka, shlish b'pragmatcha, shlish tachas yodai. They meant it. That's how you keep a portfolio. And that's what Chazal told us. I don't have to come on to anybody, to the big Wall Street guys telling me how to keep my portfolio. Chazal already told me how to keep it. But we don't listen. That's it. So we think sometimes it's only an eitzah. We're smarter. We're living in a different time. If they would have been around in our time, they also would have agreed with this all above Maasei. It's only excuses for us to do what we want to do whenever we say those things. If they would have been here, I'm telling you, nobody has charote on what they said, especially not Gedolei Yisrael. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, a good job, an easy tonus. I don't know what's next week, so I can't tell you, but we'll be in touch. No tonus.
Charge ready.
Shabbos.